Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This episode has been brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum to be held on November 7th and 8th of 2022 in Verona, Italy. This year will be an exclusively in-person edition. The main theme of the event will be all-round wine communication. Tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net. Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in. Welcome to Clubhouse Ambassador's Corner. And today I'm standing in for Stevie Kim. My name's Joy Livingston. Stevie is off jet setting once again, and so I'm just standing in this time. I hope that's all right with everybody. Tonight we are going to be having a fireside chat between Susannah Gold, who will be interviewing Valeria Radici Odero, and I really hope I said that correctly. Susannah, how are you?
I am great, actually. It seems like practically summer here. I'm in New York City, and it's very warm, which is a change. Of course, it's not good because it's probably due to climate change, but pretty good. And I'm excited to speak with Valeria, who I met earlier this month in Oltrepo.
Yeah, awesome. So you're back in the States. I know that I met you at the Wine Media Conference.
Exactly.
How was the rest of your trip?
Yeah, the rest of my trip, well, right after I met you, then I went to Oltrepo and I met Valeria, I think the next day. So it's been a whirlwind month. I don't know where October went. I can't believe it's almost Halloween, and then soon it's going to be November and then the end of the year. And it's a great time to drink all of these lovely wines that I had tasted that nice October day at Valeria's winery in Oltrepo.
So yeah, let's. I want to ask you a couple questions before you go ahead and speak with Valeria.
Sure.
I wanted to know. So why did you choose Valeria's wines?
So I had heard about Valeria and her winery, Frecciarossa, years ago. I had the pleasure of living in Milan for 10 years in Lombardy. And so I began to explore a little bit the wines of Oltrepo Pavese. And of course, I heard about Frecciarossa among the first. I also love to interview women in wine. And so when I found out that there were so many women in wine in Oltrepo, I was really excited and surprised. And then I had the great occasion to meet Valeria this past October, I think 2nd or 1st, when I was on a trip after the Wine Media Conference in Oltrepo Pavese. I am their brand ambassador for the U.S., and I was with some other journalists, and Valeria treated us to an amazing lunch and a tour of her really incredible winery. And I just really fell in love with the wines and just found Valeria charming and warm and so knowledgeable about everything. So I was excited to choose her for this Ambassador's Corner.
Awesome. And so what kind of things are you hoping the audience will take away from the conversation, the learning objectives that we can expect from the interview?
Sure. So I'm hoping that people will learn about Oltrepo Pavese. It's a region in Lombardy that I don't think a lot of people know about yet. And it's really a hidden gem with so many great wines, be it sparkling whites, reds, and rosés and sweet wines. So really exciting wines. I hope people learn about Valeria's particular winery and their over 100-year history. She has a lot of great anecdotes. And I hope people learn about an area that's easy to get to if you visit from Milan, if you come from Bologna or Genoa. It's very accessible. So a real region to an up-and-coming region to visit.
Awesome. And so I guess before I mute myself, I wanted to just give you a short introduction, and then you go ahead and introduce Valeria. But I haven't really introduced you, so let me do that. So Susannah Gold. So you enjoy sharing your love of wine to educate both the trade and consumers. And you hold 10 wine certificates. That's a lot of certificates from schools around the world, including you're an Italian wine ambassador from Vinitaly International Academy. And you're an educator, a journalist, communications professional. Um, and also I was reading all about your writing today. Um, and you do that for individual producers and for regions. And you've been the Lugana East Coast Ambassador for the past 7 years and was named the brand ambassador for Oltrepo Pavese this year, which you just mentioned. Yeah, your writings appeared in the Financial Times, Gourmet Retailer, food, food and beverage business, food and beverage business, Snooth.com, Organic Wine Journal, the Sommelier Journal, F&B Magazine, GDO Week, and Palate Press. That was wow. Okay, so I hope that if I'm missing anything, just let me know. I know that things, there's always updates, but go ahead and do that if you have any updates. And without further ado,
Great. It's actually my pleasure to introduce Valeria. Valeria grew up in Frecciarossa, where her grandfather Giorgio and her mother Margherita were taking care of the winery. Her great-grandfather Mario bought the estate in 1919, so that's an over 100-year history at Frecciarossa. She went to study at the Fine Arts Academy of Milan and then moved to Paris, where she married an American and had 3 sons before coming back to her roots in Frecciarossa in 2011. She converted the estate to organic farming, and to that I can attest, having seen it in first person and all the life that's going on that vineyard. And she's now working with Pinot Noir and indigenous varieties, surrounded by a first-rate team and supported by the knowledge handed down from the generations before her. Her son Pietro, who is 21 at the moment, will be the future of the winery. So hello, Valeria. How are you?
Hello, very nice being with you. I'm fine. I'm in Frecciarossa and very happy to talk to you about, my our estate, our winery, our land, Oltrepo Pavese, and voila. Hmm.
This is Valeria's first time on Clubhouse, right? Is that right, Valeria?
Right. That's my first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of a strange platform, but welcome, and I'm excited to be the first person that you speak to on Clubhouse. So my first question to you is, what age did you begin working in the winery? Not that I'm asking your age. I'm asking, like, when you were a girl. I'm a woman. I would never ask you your age. What I'm asking is, did you work in the winery when you were little? Did you know you wanted to work in the winery?
So I grew up in the winery and I really deeply love this place. But then when I was around 18, 20, I went to study at Fine Art Academy in Milano, as we are 1 hour far of Milano. We are very close. And, I always loved drawing and painting and this kind of thing. So I decided it was going to be my way. And I went to Fine Art Academy and then I moved to Paris and I lived in Paris for many years. I married there and I had 3 sons and in 2011 I came back to take care of Frecciarossa. And so I didn't start in Frecciarossa. Even if I grew up here, I didn't start taking care of Frecciarossa when I was all that young. I mean, I was already 40 and I'm taking care of it now. It's completely my project. It's a place I'm very attached to, because it's the place I grew up in, and wine has always been part of our family, of the life in Frecciarossa. There was the house and the winery. It's one thing.
Yes. So I remember when I came to visit you, I was your winery was kind of a huge surprise to me, both because of so many colors and all of the kind of elegant flower arrangements that I believe your mother did. But I was wondering, What other kind of touches from art, your background as an artist, have you brought into the winery?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe just the color you saw on the walls, or maybe it's um, maybe the artistic vision of things helps you to be more creative and more free for other think even about thinking about the wine, because wine, it's always, there's always something of you in the wine you make. And
Right.
liking creativity, having been the artistic side brings you more sensitivity, towards things. So I think this helps in a way. There is a touch in the back of things, and a touch that you cannot maybe tell, but there is something that comes from that background.
Yes, that's what I remember when I got there. I thought, oh, this kind of looks like a Mexican or a French kind of outside layout. And I remember you were wearing this very colorful jean jacket with skeletons on it. And I said to you
Yeah.
something, and you turned around and you said to me, the Grateful Dead. And it was just such a funny way. I don't know. It struck me, and I enjoyed that. So, apart from their artistic side, I wanted to know, is there a favorite part of the year for you in the vineyard?
Oh, I must say I love spring, because in spring there's this energy of life coming back. It's winter seems always very, very long. Even if it's just a few months. But I think it's a few months with less light, with cold. With less color in nature. So when there is this waking up in spring, and the vines start having leaves again, and flower everywhere. I think that's magical. I think every time, I think I love to live in a place where we have season, where there is a winter, because so you can enjoy so much the spring. That's, that's, if you did not have the winter, it wouldn't be the same. But it's spring, it's always magical, I think, for you too. It's so this is the moment of the year I really love, because it's new energy, new life starting again. But I like also to see the grape growing up, the bunch of grape growing. I like to see them taking color in July. I like it when we harvest. I like it now that the leaves are red and yellow and they are falling down. It's always beautiful, and it's always beautiful because it's never the same. It's just and when you live in there, you are a part of it. You are really in contact with all the season and the nature, and I really enjoy that part.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I love every season in a vineyard, and I would imagine living among your vines must be a very special thing in that beautiful house you have on that amazing vineyard. I was really excited to walk your vineyards. What have you learned about making wine that surprised you? Is there any part of it that was really something unexpected?
Yeah, I think that making wine makes you very humble, because you realize you cannot control everything. It's even though you know a lot of things, you think you know everything, and you think you're doing things perfectly well, and then always, very often, there is something happening that you don't know. That you didn't think that was going to happen, and makes you very, very humble. So you learn that you have to get along with the wine, when you are making it, when you are during fermentation, after fermentation, during aging. You have to taste, to listen where the wine wants to go, and it's very good. But you cannot control everything. You can do the best that you can do, but you cannot control everything. So this was very I think it's it's a lesson in a way, because um, it's kind of a boat, drifting in the sea, and you try to drive this boat, and to drive it the best. But it goes. It goes with the wind, where the wind is. It's something that you are part of it, but you cannot control completely. It's
Kind
It's
of like
nice.
raising your children. Kind of like raising your children. You know, you can kind of steer them, but
I think it's easier. Yes, it's something like that. Something like that.
something like that. Yeah, no, I actually make wine in my garage.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, do you?
I do. I do. I've been
Yes.
making wine in my garage for a number of years, and it's more than a humbling experience, and really gives me so much kind of understanding of what great wineries do, and good winemakers. And that is not what I am at this current time, but it's been a very interesting and humbling experience, as you say, because no, you cannot control nature. So this is maybe a time to talk for a minute about nature and climate change, because we talked about it when I was visiting you. And I wonder, have you seen loads of changes in your vineyard? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately, we were talking about that. My grandfather used to harvest in October, and we are now harvesting in August. Can you imagine that? We've moved like 1 month and a half before. And this is because it's getting warmer and warmer, and so we have to learn how to deal with the grape, with taking care of the vegetation, leaves of the plants, and how to deal with the vines in the vineyard and in the cellar. Not to have wines with too much alcohol, or wines with very low acidity. It's another, we have to learn a new way of taking care of our vines. And this changing has been very maybe stronger in the last 10 years. It's getting warmer and warmer. I mean, this year in Italy we had a really really warm year, and we are having a terrible drought. It doesn't rain, never rains, so it's very very dry here. And so I think this is what is going to be, with a bit more water, I hope. But the heat is what is going to be for the next for the future. In So we it's not there is it's a very warm year, or it's going to be like this. So we have to learn to make wine in a new way. We cannot do what we were doing 20 years ago. I cannot do what my grandfather was doing, because he had a different quality of grape. It was colder, sugar was lower, acidity was higher, so he was working a certain way that is not the way we have to work now, because now that the climate would give very easy, very high alcohol wines, nobody wants to drink them, because nowadays everybody's very careful about how much alcohol they drink, and they rather drink lighter wines. And I understand very well this. So we have, and yeah, and so we have to be, how do you say, aware of what the tendency of the market is, and what people likes to drink. The way we drink has changed a lot in the years, because maybe. At the beginning of last century, people were drinking much more sweet wines, like also the champagne in French were brut, dry, extra dry. They were very sweet, much sweeter than what we drink nowadays. And we want to drink less sweet, less alcohol, lighter wines, So we have really to fight with this climate, and we have to learn a new way of taking care of our vineyards, and of the making of wine in the cellar. So I think everybody is experimenting a lot, because we don't have, a recipe, and everything we make, we can see the results months later. So it's not very easy. It's not like making a cake and you don't like the recipe and you want to change something. So in the same day, you can make the same cake several times. With wines, we have to wait months to see, what we have done, if to see if what we think to do was a good idea or not. So everybody is experimenting. We are trying to take care of some part of the vineyards, leaving more leaves, for instance. This year, to protect the vines from excessive heat, we spray them with, I think in English you can say kaolin. It's like a white powder coming from a rock, that you can put with water and you spray on the leaves. And this kaolin, it is like a sunscreen for the plants, to protect them, not to lose too much water and not to have too many X-ray red, how do you say, raggi
Yeah.
ultraviolet,
Ultraviolet.
or
Yep. Yep. Yep.
yes, 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 rains. So everybody is experimenting. We are now also in the for fermentation. We're using more and more the whole cluster for Pinot Nero, to leave, to have a bit less alcohol, a bit more acidity, and a fresh note that comes from the cluster. That of course you have to use in a certain way, otherwise you have too much green note. And so we are experimenting, we are trying, we are finding new way, and we're very grateful and happy when the results are good.
Of course. Absolutely. Are you also considering planting different kinds of grape varieties, or uh, changing?
We are thinking about it. In Oltrepo, what we have that is that we can go higher up planting vineyards, because we are on hills, and these hills becomes higher and higher, and then there are mountains. But we are now, our estate is in on the first hills, which when my great grandfather bought the winery, was considered the best place to get to ripe grape for red wines. And now it's getting a bit too hot, so this year we're already using some Pinot Noir, growing higher up at 500 meters, which is higher. We're about 200, so it's a bit higher up, so we have a bit more freshness in the grape, more acidity up there. So we are lucky in Oltrepo because we have this territory where we can go and plant higher up. uh, but and a new variety we're looking but for the moment we can handle. We use more on north sides of the hills, when there again my grandfather did not plant on the north sides because it was considered too cold, too much humidity. And now everybody's looking for north sides of the hills
Of
to get a
course,
bit
that's
more
so interesting.
freshness. Yes,
Yeah, that's
yes,
so
yes.
interesting. So, have you always been organic? When did you make the decision to take the winery organic?
When I started taking care of the winery in 2011, I was thinking of that, because I'm very sensible to a certain way of living, of protecting the place where we live, or respecting the earth, and we live in the middle of our vineyards. So for me, it's important to have very safe a place around, not only for me, but for the animals, for the bugs, for everything, for the plants themselves. And I met this very interesting person who is our agronomist. It's called Pierluigi Donna, and I really liked him, and we start working together, and he's teaching us, he's accompanying us in this new way of working. We've been organic. We start working completely organic in 2013, so we have learned a lot of things, because in organic you cannot buy a book and look, like up at page 3 what to do if it rains. It's not that simple. You have to take care of everything, the higher part, the lower part, another side. But it's a very interesting way of working, and it's possible nowadays because for vineyards in Italy has been more than 20 years now that they've been start working really like this, and we have learned a lot of things, with university helping us, making ricerca, how do you say,
Research, research.
research, and it's a way that you can go through. It's not difficult, it's not impossible, And I think the plants are more in balance. There is more the soil. It's more safe. It's more alive, so the roots can go to take what they need in a solitary where the balance. Sorry, I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't know how to say things in
Don't
English.
worry
I'm
about it.
thinking about. I'm sorry. Yes. So if the soil it's safe and alive, the roots of course works better, and the quality of the fruit also it's better. So when they tell you that the wine burns in the vineyards, it's completely true, because if you have a good quality of fruit there, you will have also the base to make a good wine. It's like, when you buy a tomato maybe in a supermarket where they look perfect but they don't taste anything, or you grow a tomato in your garden and you take it, when it's ripe from the plant, and both of them are tomatoes, but there is a huge difference, of taste, of aromas, of everything. So that's the same with grape. You have to if you have a good quality of grape, you will have a good quality of wine. That's very important.
You also grow bees, or you're raising bees, right? I don't even know if you
Yes.
say that. If you say raising bees, I'm not sure what you do. You're not harvesting bees. You have
Yes.
bees, yeah, pollinating. You have
Yes,
pollinators,
we
hives, right?
we have bees. We have 10 hives of bees, and free just to make families of bees. And we are yes, I'm very happy to have them, because they're for everything, for the plants, for pollinations, for flowers. And bees are very sensitive to a lot of products that they use in when it's not organic, and they sometimes they die. It's very sad. You have hives, the whole hives, all the bees dies because they've been
Are you enjoying this podcast? There's so much more high-quality wine content available from Mama Jumbo Shrimp. Check out our new wine study maps, our books on Italian wine, including Italian Wine Unplugged, The Jumbo Shrimp Guide to Italian Wine, Sangiovese Lambrusco and Other Stories, and much, much more on our website, mamajumboshrimp.com. Now back to the show.
if they go to take nectar on some plants that have been treated. And so here, as we are organic and they have a large zone where there is no dangers for them, it's good to keep them, to protect them, also because that bees on the herd there, they have a lot of threats to them. They have disease, they have parasites, then they have the poisoning. We're not using things that are bad for them, poison them, but they die if they go far away, in places that they've been treated with poison, and they can die. But normally the hives we keep here in the winery, that's one of the reasons why we keep the bees, is because here is safe for them. It's safe for them, and so they are well. They are well. But this guy who taught me how to deal with bees had sometimes hives in some other parts, in some other places, and it's often he has found all the bees dead. Because it's dangerous what we use in agriculture for them. It's very dangerous.
You know what I have found interesting in organic vineyards, and yours as well, is how many insects are hopping and running around. I mean, it's amazing how much life there is in an organic vineyard. I mean, you can just see the vineyard, living, right?
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. But biodiversity is our best friends, let's say, because the most you have of bugs, of animals in general, of weeds as well, the less you have one that becomes very dominating. And so you might have the nasty bug, and you have the useful one because it eats or limited the nasty one, and then you have the one that doesn't do anything, but it occupies a space that will not be occupied by the nasty one. So the more bugs, the more species of bugs, of weeds, the more it's easy for us, to work in the vineyards. And you can tell when people use a lot of pesticide or like the glyphosate, how do you call that, to kill the weeds,
Different kinds
treatments.
of treatments. Yep.
When they use a lot of treatments, then there are only some weeds that can grow after this poisoning. They're the strongest one, and they're very invasive. How do you say invasive?
Oh my goodness, they invade the winery.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's not working like this. You have in the vineyards, when you walk through the vineyards and you look at your feet, you will see a lot of different kind of weeds, and of course, if you look closer and closer, you see a lot of different kind of bugs, which is very useful, to have balance in nature. It's very important that it's our best friend, this biodiversity.
Absolutely. I love that. So I'm gonna switch topic for a minute because I don't want the whole Clubhouse chat to go by without you talking about the amazing history of your winery in the United States. Because I believe you have one of the earliest numbers of possibly exported wines. Is that right?
Oh, that's right. We have the export number, license number 19,
Which is
which is,
amazing.
we got there in February 1934, just at the end of Prohibition, because our wines were on the ferries, on the boat that brought people from Italy to the States back and forth. People did not fly to come to the States in those days, and the trip was maybe a couple of weeks, I think, or even more. And so they had restaurants on this boat, and on the restaurants, our wine were served, and so when prohibition, and then people get to the States, they get off the boat, and unfortunately they could not drink anymore because they had prohibition. And so when prohibition ended, I think it ended in 1933, at the very beginning of 1934, we were ready to come on the American market, because a lot of people had drunk our wine and they liked them. And so we had the market ready, for them. And we had this license number 19, exportation license, and ever since we have a very interesting market in the United States. It's very, and this happened because my grandfather and my great grandfather had the idea of making good quality wines, of course, but putting them in bottle, which sounds very common today, but it was not 100 years ago in Italy. In Italy, they used to make wine and put them in damigiana. Damigiana is this big jars, where you can put maybe 25 liters of wine, and people used to go to a producer, buy this jar, of wine, bring it home and put it in bottle themselves. And this, lasted until the 70s. Maybe a lot of people were not bottling but making this damigiana. And my grandfather went to study how to make wine in France, and he saw, that the French were already using a lot of bottles. And he came back, from there with some new ideas. And we are talking about the 20s of the last century, 100 years ago. And so he came back to Italy. He started making good wines and bottling them, which, that allowed them to travel to more faraway markets. And so we started selling the wines in England. And then, because they were on this boat, going to the States, we entered the American market. So we started exporting very, very early in our history. And that's because thanks to the fact that the wine were bottled, which was not very common in Italy in those days.
Can you tell us the story about the bottle that was found at the bottom of the sea?
Ha, that's a fun story. Like maybe 20 years ago, this guy came with an empty bottle, and he brought up this bottle from the bottom of the sea. And he was a scuba diver, and he went visiting this boat that belonged to the Italian army that was drowned, how do you say, affondata, that
A
was
shipwreck.
sink.
It was a shipwreck, right? A shipwreck.
Yes, exactly. Near Somalia, this boat had shrank before, just at the beginning of the Second World War. And it was not very far away from the coast, so people went to visit it. And this guy went into this boat and saw some bottles of wine in a corner. And he was very a wine lover, so he was very curious to see which wine was this. And he bought up a couple of bottles, and it was but the bottles of Frecciarossa, because on the cap top, there was still the number of register of our winery, and so that's, of course, the label was not there anymore, and so he analyzes, the wine inside. It was still with alcohol, with acidity, kept because the cork had, worked well, so the wine was still a good wine. But we did not get the wine. He drank the wine, or I don't know what he did with the wine. He brought it, but he was very nice to bring the bottle to us. And I love the story of this bottle that, left from here, went to Somalia with a long trip, was under the sea for a long, long time, and came back to here. It's like the ring, of the in the
Absolutely. That's a
yes.
very fun story. Can you also tell the Alfred Hitchcock story?
Yes, so Alfred Hitchcock made his first movie in Italy in 1925. It's not a part of it in Italy. It's not the movie he's the most well known with. It was the first movie, but we don't care about the movie. We care about the fact that he was staying at this big hotel on the Como Lake in that period. That was called Villa d'Este. It's still called Villa d'Este. It's a very beautiful old hotel on the Como Lake, and they were serving our wines there. And he got, very fond of a white wine that my grandfather was making. And in the years, that was 1925, and in the years after, he was sending somebody from Paramount Pictures once in a while to Frecciarossa to buy a case of wine for him. And when he finally met my grandfather in the early 50s, because my grandfather went to bring some wine to this place, to this Villa d'Este, and Hitchcock was there. So they get to know each other, and in the back of a menu, he wrote him our first wine in Italy from 1925 was Frecciarossa La Vigne Blanche was called, because my grandfather in those days was giving French names to all his wines, because probably to make them sound more, have more appeal on the market outside of Italy, or to give them more importance, which is not what we would do now, because now we try to be much more territorial. What we want to talk about, it's our territory, the wines from our region, that's but in those days, that was the marketing they had. And so Hitchcock was very fond of this white wine that was Riesling, called La Vigne Blanche.
That's so fun. I love those stories about your winery. And another topic I wanted to just touch on was, well, I met your mother when we were visiting, and your mother she went to agronomy school in the 60s. Is that right?
Oh, yes, because my mother was born here in the winery, and she's always been very, fond of this place. And in Italy, when you went through a university, often you are called dottore, doctor. And so everybody, but dottore, doctor, is also a doctor that when you are sick, the doctor comes. This is the same word. So everybody here was calling my grandfather dottore, and she was asking, but why do you call him dottore? He's not a doctor. And they said, your father is a doctor for the plants. And she says, when I will grown up, I will be a doctor for the plants like my father. And she did. She went to study agronomy. In 1963, she finished university, and there were only three women going through this kind of studies, and only two finished the university, because it was in the 60s in Italy. Women were not going through very this kind of studies, probably. And but she did, and she took care of the winery with my grandfather, with her father, for a long time. Then my grandfather passed away in 1980, and she went on alone. And after some years, she modernized completely the cellar, because we were vinifying everything, like with like this, from the beginning. We've been vinifying everything in wood, white wine, red wines, marolatis. But in the meantime, they had invented the also the steel vats, which are very useful for fermentation, for cleaning. And we can also, now it's a big help, because now that the climate is changing, because you can control the temperature of fermentation, which is a very good help to preserve the aromas. Because if fermentation goes in very high temperature, it goes very fast, very quickly, but you lose a lot of aromas. It's better that goes slower, lower temperature, and that you preserve the aromas. So she did all this big job of renewing everything, and she's still around, taking care. She says, nowadays I only take care of my flower, but no, she's very important for me, because she's the memory of everything that happened here. And sometimes I ask her, how did grandfather did with this wine, how did you do with this or with that. And it's very important to have this, to have her in my back, transmitting this kind of informations, this kind of her knowledge. Because the interesting thing is that I think that mankind has learned how to make wine in so many years, and we have improved so much in knowledge. Because if you think that the 2000 years ago, the Romans were already making wine here, but their wine did not last long, and they became with oxidations, or they became like vinegar, and often they had to put honey in them, of spicy, to drink them. And we have learned generation after generation, to deal with fermentation, with wine, how to preserve, how to. And for me, the experience of my family here, it's very important, because they know this place, this very place. So they have my mother always told me, every harvest is a new adventure, which is true, because you never start with the same quality of grape from one year to the other. For instance, this summer was so hot, so dry, so of course you don't have the same uh, grape that we had last year and we'll have another year. So every year you learn, how to deal with this. And but after so many years in a place, you have the experience of dry year, of wet year, of cold, of spring. And your vineyards, and you get better how to deal with your grape, so that's very important, this experience they have, and they can transmit me, that my mother transmits me. Still, she's 83, but in a very good shape, still around. So I'm lucky to have her. I think.
Absolutely. I remember those beautiful flower creations that she made out of vegetables and flowers.
Oh, yes.
I love them. Um,
Yes.
is there anything that I missed that you want to share about Oltrepo or about your winery before we open it up to any questions, if people have any questions?
So Oltrepo, I think it's a really beautiful area. It's not because it's where my home is, but I think that you have seen it, Suzanne. I think it's a very beautiful region that it's a bit unknown. Even in Italy, It's something that it's a kind of a new frontier that people is discovering. But at the same time, it's a very, very, very old place where the Romans were already making wines, here. And it's a hill region, so it's never easy to work in hill. It's harder than work. Sorry, because my mom is around and she's making noise. She's not supposed to make noise. Yes, in Oltrepo, so it's a very ancient region, and we are now working a lot with Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir was brought here around 1850 by these guys who were they were from Piemonte, which is next door from us, and they wanted to make an Italian champagne, and they tried to plant Pinot Noir. Champagne is made with Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Meunier, Pinot Meunier. And so they tried to plant Pinot Noir in Piemonte with not very good, results. And so one of them came to Oltrepo because one of his cousin was here and had a very big estate, and they tried to plant Pinot Noir here. And here they were very happy about what they got because, Pinot Noir was really good. Because I always say that everybody loves Pinot Noir, but Pinot Noir does not love everybody, because it's a difficult grape. You cannot plant it and have good quality everywhere. And we are lucky enough that here it grows very well. So ever since we start more and more working with Pinot Noir on this territory, and now uh, the people is very much in love with Pinot Noir. They are all over the world. They're coming more and more because they found out that we have very good sparkling wines, made with Pinot Noir. We have good Pinot Noir reds, and and we are just 1 hour south of Milano, 1 hour from Genova, very close to Bologna. So it's an interesting region to visit. I suggest that if you want to find out about a new place in Italy that you haven't seen yet, this the Oltrepo, it's really beautiful. It's really worth it.
I completely agree. Should we open the floor to questions, Laika? Joy?
Yeah,
Never.
sure, of course. Okay, let's call Joy.
I'm right here. Hi. Did you?
Hi.
Did you?
Hi.
Hi. How are you? I love the stories about Alfred Hitchcock. Like so much history in your family. It's really fun to listen to. I love it. I was wondering though, did you mention the price point of your wines?
The price point? No, I did not. I did not
Can
because
you talk about
yeah, because I have no idea. Now in the States, I think that you can find them around from $20 to $50, $60, probably in this range. They must be, the lower price must be around $20, and then you get up to 60. No, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly in this moment how much they cost.
But no, it sounds good because there's a range, and I'm just wondering in terms of if I were to walk into a store in New York, where would I go, and like, what are my options? So that sounds good. I'm not sure. Do we have any questions from the audience? Because sometimes people are shy, and then we end up having to email questions later.
No, we don't have okay, so
We
we've
have
got
one question.
Lori. She's
Yeah.
raising her hand. So let's see. Okay. Hi, Lori. Okay, do you have any questions for Valeria?
Yes, a lot. There is this thing I wanna ask. I wanna ask the Mrs. Valeria, do you have any pub or any restaurant which people come and celebrate? Maybe do you have anything that you do which in a celebration whereby you put your wines in a display for people to come and try to buy and to sell? Yes.
So yes, we have a tasting room where you can come over, you can visit the winery, and of course you can taste the wines and then buy them if you like them. And then we have a place where you can have lunch or just cold cuts and cheese. And then we have an old big house that we rent for weddings, for bigger celebrations, for these kind of things. So that's what you can do if you come to visit us. It's and we have. I didn't say that we have. If you want to see some pictures of Frecciarossa, we have, of course, a website, but we also have an Instagram where there's much more pictures, of course, than on the website. And so Instagram is Frecciarossa Winery, and the website is frecciarossa.com. Frecciarossa, it's written FRECCIARO Frecciarossa.
Can we talk about the name Frecciarossa, Valeria, where it came from?
Of course. So Frecciarossa, in English, you should know that means red arrow. And it comes from a wrong spelling and writing of a name. It was in the local dialect, a landslide. It's called a landslope. I don't know how to say. It's called una fraccia. And as probably on this hill where we are, in the old days, there was this land slope of red clay, because we have red clay, and it was called, the name of the hill was La Fraccia Rossa. And probably everything was written by hand, in those days. So somebody who wrote the name at a certain point, he wrote it with the wrong spelling, and instead of Fraccia wrote Freccia, and that's our name, Frecciarossa, and that means red arrow. It's and it's also now, in the last year, the name of the fast train in Italy. So everybody ask me, why are you called with like the train, but it's the train that is called like us.
Exactly.
We were there before.
That's so funny. I just looked up Wine Searcher just about the prices, and you were absolutely correct, from around 20 to around 50. So that is the correct range.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you,
And
Susannah. Thank you. All right, so we are almost out of time, so I'm going to stop you guys right there. Thank you, everybody, for that. Was actually of course, it was going to be a great conversation, but I really enjoyed that, and I know Leica did too. Before we go though, Leica, do you know what our next Clubhouse session will be? Who will it be?
Yeah, so it's going to be, actually, they're here on stage. So John Hernish will be interviewing Caterina Sarparelli tomorrow at 7 p.m. Italian time zone. And then we also have Kevin De Lucente. He's going to interview Pierluigi Travaglini next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. So that's it. And yeah, see you there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you both so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. And I wish you guys a wonderful evening. And I guess, Susannah, it's daytime still over there.
yes, it is. Plenty of time ahead in the day to drink a lot of Frecciarossa. Excuse me, my goodness. Frecciarossa. I
forget it.
You know what?
But
You know
I
what
heard what
October's
October
like,
gets
right?
to say. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
So
you,
thank
Valeria.
you. Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Thank
Ciao.
you. Bye.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. Here we go.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, brought to you by the Wine to Wine Business Forum 2022. This year will mark the 9th edition of the forum, to be held on November 7th and 8th, 2022, in Verona, Italy. Remember, tickets are on sale now, so for more information, please visit us at winetowine.net. guys, I'm Joy Livingston, and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love, and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.